up to him. Whatever they asked him, Z the Wizard stole off one of them. Next thing you know, they start fighting. Dude that was with the suspect, he instantly.
The viral footage shows BigXThaPlug allegedly shooting his homie Z the Wizard in his head at a Dallas club on New Year's Day. 22-6 Wizard, who had just got put on by Future's Free Bands label, was left fighting for his life after shooters lit up the Pink House Dallas and hit 5 people. Let's break down exactly what happened and why this footage been running up numbers all over the internet. The night everything went left, the Pink House Dallas was having its grand opening on New Year's Eve 22-5 The Spot, an after-hours joint near Empire Central and North Stemmons Freeway, had lined up local talent for what was supposed to be a lit celebration. 2 of the biggest names pulling up that night were BigXThaPlug and Z the Wizard. BigXThaPlug, government name Xavier Landum, had been putting in work for the past 2 years, building himself into one of the coldest names in Texas rap. His track Texas went gold. Stacked up over 330 million streams. By late 2025, he had been linking up with country artists like Luke Combs, Jelly Roll, and Bailey Zimmerman, dropping an album called I Hope You're Happy that mixed that southern trap sound with Nashville vibes. Homie was by any measure the hottest rapper to come out the D in years. Z the Wizard, born Z Curie Cannon Grantfields, was 25 years old. He came up in Oak Cliff, a neighborhood in South Dallas where cats had to stay on point. His path to music came after a sports injury shut down his athletic dreams. He started dropping tracks in late 2024, putting out projects like Hood Prophet and bangers like Boss N, 4 for 4. And Chevy, his whole style was about that motivational wave. Grinding, surviving, stacking bread from nothing. By summer 2025, the Dallas Observer had named him among the top 20 rappers to watch in the DFW. In August 2025, Z the Wizard signed to Future's Free Bands label. That was the type of bag that meant he was about to go from hood famous to mainstream. He had already got cosigns from cats like G Herbo and Rod Wave. Mo3's manager, Rainwater, called him incredibly talented with the potential to take over the whole streets. Both these rappers were running with what folks in Dallas
would hold each other down. They would pull up to
called the New Dallas Movement. This was a squad of young artists who had linked up with one mission, promoting unity instead of that beef energy. The movement had names like Zillionaire Doe, Montana 700, and Timothy Jung. These were trappers from different hoods, some of which had static with each other going way. Back.interview.2.35/2.37. The whole point of New Dallas was simple. Instead of sliding on each other, these rappers would hold each other down. They would pull up to each other's shows, push each other's music, and move as one unit. It was a direct response to what had happened to the OGs of Dallas rap, which had been ripped apart by that street drama. Mo3 got hit in 2020. Yellowy was catching murder charges connected to Mo3's body. The whole scene had been split, booked to hit the stage at Pink House Dallas for the grand opening. According to his people, he performed right before midnight and rocked a crowd that had his own family in the building. After he finished his set, his family dipped. Z the Wizard stayed behind to keep turning up with BigXThaPlug and the rest of the homies. The energy in that club was straight vibes. Footage from earlier that night showed both rappers getting active. As you can see, the caption says, BigXThaPlug and Z the Wizard in Dallas for New Year. Z the Wizard was making it rain in that joint, throwing stacks at the dancers. BigXThaPlug had a section locked down with bottles. Shorties were twerking. It was by all accounts a movie. You can see, it seemed like a celebratory mood, and then, around 3:45 a.m. on January 1st, 2026, everything went sideways. Dallas police got calls about shots fired in the parking lot. When the boys showed up, the scene was already cleared out, but they found evidence that somebody had been busting. 5 people caught bullets. 1 was in critical condition. That was the Wizard. According to family members who later chopped it up with WFAA, Z the Wizard had been hit multiple times. Word was he caught one to the dome. He got rushed to the hospital where doctors immediately put him in critical condition. The footage that would blow up all over the net was captured in those moments right after shooting. It showed BigXThaPlug outside the club trying to process what just happened to his mans. So, as you heard him say, he said, "They shot Z in the head." What the F? That clip spread across social media in hours. You could see BigXThaPlug in an orange jacket leaning against a whip in that pink-lit parking lot. You could hear him say what everybody would replay a million times. They shot Z in the head. That was him on the floor. I think the last thing you hear him say is that was him. BigXThaPlug ain't catch no bullets. But his reaction, the shock, the disbelief, that moment when you realize somebody just smoked your homie became the image that defined the whole story as it went viral. The cap spreading and the family stepping up. Within hours of the shooting, a whole different type of chaos jumped off. Folks on social media started posting that Z the Wizard was gone. The cap spread fast as hell, running way ahead of any official word from the laws or the hospital. By the morning of January 1st, 2026, RIP posts and tributes were flooding X, Instagram, and TikTok. Hella people were mourning somebody who was at that moment still breathing. The misinformation moved the way it always moves. Somebody dropped an unverified claim. Others ran with it without fact-checking nothing. Blog sites and hip-hop pages grabbed the posts and pushed stories based on Twitter fingers instead of real information. The result was a whole wave of false reports that Z the Wizard's family had to fight against while they were already dealing with the reality that their people was on life support. Montana 700, one of Z the Wizard's day ones and another member of the new Dallas squad, was one of the first cats to call out the bogus reports. He hid his story thanking folks for the love while setting the record straight. Thank you to everyone. We appreciate you all. All the love y'all got for Z. There has been misinformation floating around. As of now, Z is still fighting, praying that he bounces back and on full recovery. The message was crystal. Z the Wizard ain't dead. He was on life support fighting for his life. But the damage from all that early cap had already been done. Mad people who saw the first post about him dying never saw the corrections. By January 3rd, 2026, WA confirmed that Z the Wizard was still in the hospital on life support. The family had talked directly to reporters to clear up his status. According to the report, the fam was staying optimistic about his recovery while asking for prayers and privacy. The situation at the hospital had gotten complicated beyond just the medical drama. Dallas PD posted up extra security around the hospital to manage all the heads that had pulled up. Random fans who ain't never met Z the Wizard in person were trying to slide through. The family said even extended relatives couldn't get in. With police pointing to safety concerns while detectives kept investigating, the family expressed appreciation for the attention they were getting from Dallas police. Not just for keeping their boy safe, but for helping the hospital staff do their jobs without all the extra noise. Himothy Jung, another new Dallas artist who was tight with Z the Wizard, posted on the gram asking folks to fall back and stop flooding the hospital. The message was the same from everybody in his circle. Let the doctors work. Let the family breathe and stop running with cap. You ain't verified. That's what I'm hearing right now. Now, I'm hearing that he's still in critical condition. The whole situation exposed how wild social media gets when shootings pop off. Information moves faster than facts. Emotional reactions outrun actual reporting. The same apps that had helped push Z the Wizard's music were now spreading lies about him, being dead before his family could even wrap their heads around what happened. This ain't the first time it went down like this. It had happened before with other rappers, other shootings, other bodies. But the speed at which the Z the Wizard story went from shooting at a Dallas club to rising rapper got smoke showed how fast narratives get locked in once the internet runs with them. I hate when I just hear about a rapper because he got killed. A lot of heads pointed out the twisted irony of how many people were just now tapping into Z the Wizard's music because of the shooting. His streams probably shot up in the days after January 1st. His name was trending. His tracks were getting added to playlists. But all that attention came at the worst possible time for the worst possible reason. For the family, they were fighting two battles at once. a medical crisis, and a public narrative that kept slipping away from them. Every hour brought new posts, new claims, new nonsense, just confirming that their son, their brother, their homie was still alive required them to keep correcting the record. As of the days after the shooting, only immediate family was being allowed in his hospital room. The rapper, who had been on stage hours earlier, making it rain and rocking for a crowd that had his own blood in it, was now surrounded only by his closest people. While thousands of strangers online debated whether he was still breathing, the confusion around his status dragged on for days. But the family's message stayed solid. Z, the wizard, was fighting. He wasn't gone yet, and they needed everybody to respect that reality, even when the internet seemed determined to bury him early. What we know about the lick, the details of what actually popped off inside, started from an altercation, but didn't give up no details about what the beef was, who was involved, or what triggered somebody to start bussing. They ain't named no suspects. They ain't confirmed whether any of the victims got targeted specifically or just caught straight shots. They ain't confirmed no motive. Eyewitness accounts which folks was sharing on socials and YouTube channels was chopping up painted a wilder picture, but none of it was verified. They walk up to him, whatever they asked him. Zet the wizard stole off one of them. Next thing you know, they start fighting. Dude, that was with the suspect. He pull out a blick start shoot at the whole club. According to these stories, some op or group of ops walked up on Z the wizard. Words got exchanged. Hands started flying. Then somebody pulled out the pole and started letting it rip. The accounts didn't match up on the specifics. Some said Z the wizard swung first. Others said he was just in the wrong spot when the straps came out. I heard crossfire. Then I heard he got into altercation. He was arguing with some guys. 4 of his friends got guns from the car, 2 pistols, and 2 ARs. One story had the shooters going back to their whip to grab the hardware. 2 handguns and 2 Rs, then coming back and spraying at folks who were running. Another claim was that somebody from Z the Wizard's crew started busting back and the headshot might have been friendly fire. People pushed back on that though, pointing out he got hit multiple times, which don't add up with any accidental shot. If that was multiple times, then I don't think that story makes sense then. They said it was his homie. It was like friendly fire, but that story don't really make sense if he got hit multiple times. The venue itself became part of the conversation. Pink House Dallas was brand new, so new that New Year's Eve was literally its first night open. The timing was beyond foul. A business launching with a party that ended with shell casings and crime scene tape. Really imagine grand opening and grand closing the same day. Folks immediately started asking questions about security at the spot. How did straps get in the building or stay accessible in the parking lot? Who was patting people down? What protocols did they have for when things started getting heated? The Pink House's gram became a whole controversy after the fact. The club posted about how much bread their dancers made that night, celebrating the bag while one of the performers' homies was laid up in critical condition. Everybody called that move mad disrespectful. When 4 people get shot outside of your club and 1 person is hit in the head and in critical condition, I think it's a little bit tweaking off-putting post to Instagram how much money the club made. As for BigXThaPlug, multiple people confirmed he was in the building when shots started flying. According to one breakdown, he ducked behind the bar when the blicks came out. The bartender told him to stay low. He stayed down until somebody gave him the all-clear dot and BigXThaPlug. He ducked for cover. He instantly ran behind the bar. Next thing you know, the bartenders told him, stay down. Some folks speculated that BigXThaPlug might have been the actual target. His name rang way louder than Z the Wizard's. If somebody wanted to make a statement, going at the biggest name in the room would make the most sense. But that's all just speculation. No evidence confirmed that either rapper was specifically lined up, and the laws didn't weigh in on that question. The incident seems that it could have most likely been targeting BX, a plug, or someone from that entourage. What the available evidence pointed to was a chaotic scene where multiple people got hit. In a short window were the shooters. Dipped before police pulled up and were the most critical. Victim was a 25-year-old rapper who had been celebrating what was supposed to be the start of his come-up year. The Dallas rap game and its demons. The shooting at Pink House Dallas didn't happen out of nowhere. It went down in a city that's had a complicated, sometimes deadly relationship with its own rap scene. A scene full of talent that keeps getting cut down. Dallas has birthed artists who blew up nationally and internationally. Mo3 was one of the heaviest known for joints like Outside and that collab project he did with Boozy Badas. His murder in November 2020 rocked the whole city. Homie got hit on the highway in broad daylight and the case got national attention. Yellowy, another major Dallas spitter, got tied to that case. By 2025, he was facing murder charges connected to Mo3's body. The allegations blew up what used to be a solid bond between the two. The beef between their camps had basically split the Dallas music scene down the middle. Mo3 obviously lost his life, and they're still trying to get justice for what happened to Mo3. The new Dallas movement came up as a direct answer to all that division. Young cats who had watched the Mo3 Yellowy fallout decided they wanted to move different. They wanted to show that Dallas rappers could hold each other down, collaborate, and blow up together without the drama that had bodies dropping and careers getting destroyed. The Mo3 Yellow Bezzy beef had kind of destroyed the Dallas music scene to a certain extent. And this was essentially going to be a new generation, a whole new wave. Z, the Wizard, was one of the faces of this movement. So were Zillionaire Doe, Montana 700 and others. They came from different blocks. Fort Deuce, Woodtown, Pleasant Grove, some of which had been into it with each other for years. But the movement's whole code was explicit. Leave that old static in the past. My neighborhood and his neighborhood grew up beefing with each other. You know what I'm saying? My pop, these OGM beefing with each other, man. We bring this back. Not everybody was buying it, though. Skeptics pointed to how Dallas had always moved, a history of division, whose pride that sometimes turned into bloodshed, and a music scene that kept eating its own. A new Dallas movement won't work. And here's why. The new Dallas movement is about pushing peace and unity between all sides. The reason it won't work is simple. Dallas doesn't have that type of culture. Heads Online compared Dallas to Houston, Atlanta, and the Bay, cities where rappers from different neighborhoods had historically been able to coexist and link up without that same level of internal beef. Dallas, the argument went, just wasn't built like that. It's 2025, and you still got dudes arguing over who can claim East Dallas LMAO due to debating whether or not Highland Hills is Oak Cliff. Music executive Torrance Burnett, talking to WFAA after the shooting, spoke on what the violence meant for Dallas artists. I can't say that I was shocked, but I'm deeply saddened. Senseless killings of young people are never welcomed, and people who are in the hip-hop community, especially in Dallas-Fort Worth, we deserve more. Burnett raised a question that's been haunting hip-hop forever. Why do we demand that rappers really be about what they rap about? Actors play drug dealers and doctors and cops, and nobody expects them to actually live that life. But in hip-hop, the pressure to be authentic means artists feel like they got to stay connected to streets that can get them killed. So why is in hip-hop we just can't enjoy the art? Why do we have to live out whatever we're talking about? Z the Wizard, by all accounts, wasn't out here on Crash Dummy energy. His music was about the grind, the hustle, building something better. He was putting in work with youth in the community, coaching sports, and mentoring younger heads. Everybody who knew him described him as somebody who made it through talent and work ethic, not through sliding on ops. But the streets don't care about your intentions. The club don't check your discography before deciding if you're a target. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time is still enough to end everything. Your career, your life. Multiple commentators came to the same conclusion. The smartest thing an artist can do is get out of their city. The logic was straightforward. In your hometown, you got history. People know where you came up, who you used to run with, what your block represented. Even if you done moved on, other folks might not have. And your success can breed haters. That's where your first fights happen. That's where your first haters come from. That's where you're going to fail the most and succeed the most. But also at the same time, that's where you're going to be overly hated. In another city, you're just another rapper. You move cautious because you don't know nobody. You stay on point. In your hometown, comfort turns into slipping, and slipping can turn fatal. The fallout and what's next. In the days after the shooting, the conversation shifted from what went down to what it meant for Z the Wizard's recovery, for the new Dallas movement, for BigXThaPlug, and for the whole culture of hip-hop night. Z the Wizard was still on life support. His family held firm. He was fighting, they were hopeful, and they needed space. The hospital security situation continued with Dallas PD managing the crowds and keeping people out. Extended family who wanted to check on him got turned away. BigXThaPlug, who had watched his day one catch bullets on what was supposed to be a night of celebration, hadn't said much publicly. The viral footage of his reaction was still the main image tied to the whole story. That clip, the confusion, the grief, that moment when you realize somebody just tried to take your homie out kept circulating across every platform. The investigation hadn't produced no public arrests in the immediate aftermath. Dallas police kept saying the shooting came from an altercation, but the specifics. Uncomfortable questions about whether that vision was even possible. If the shooting was random, just some dumb club altercation that had nothing to do with Z the Wizard's music or who he ran with, then it was a reminder that the violence can find anybody, regardless of how you try to move. If it was targeted, tied to his come-up, his affiliations, or some unknown beef, then it meant even rappers who stayed positive couldn't escape the gravity of the streets. The hip-hop community responded the way it always responds to situations like this. Calls for peace, expressions of grief, questions about venue security, and reflections on the risks that come with the life. The conversation for the artist is find your why. Why are you rapping? Why are you making music? Is it just to be heard? Is it to make a better life? Torrance Burnett's comments summed up what a lot of people in the industry were thinking. If you're going to chase this rap dream, you need to know what success looks like. And that plan needs to include getting away from the environments that can get you smoked. Because if you won't use your celebrity to, take the revenue and the income and change your address and to help your grandmother and your mother and your children and so forth and so on, then what are you doing it for? Z the Wizard was on that trajectory. He had the major label deal. He had the potential to move past Dallas, to tour nationally, to stack bread that could change his whole family's situation. The shooting cut that trajectory off at the worst possible moment. The story also put fresh eyes on BigXThaPlug's own history with the laws. He had caught cases twice in 2025 in February and August for weed possession and having the strap on him. Neither arrest had anything to do with violence, but they showed the ongoing legal risks that rappers in his position face in Texas, where weed is still illegal and having a gun while you're holding is a crime. BigXThaPlug being at the Pink House shooting, making it out untouched but clearly shook added another chapter to his story. He built his whole career on keeping it real about street life. Now, he had watched that life try to take somebody he loved right in front of Hamas. New Year's Day 2026 turned into the rest of January 2026. The immediate crisis gave way to bigger questions. Was Z the Wizard going to pull through? Were the shooters going to get identified and booked? Was the new Dallas movement going to survive this setback? Or was it going to fall apart like the scenes that came before it? There weren't no easy answers. There never are when it goes down like this. What remained was the footage. BigXThaPlug outside a club in the early morning hours, finding out his homie caught a headshot, saying words that millions of people would hear repeated all over social media. They shot Z in the head. What the... he said they shot Z in the head. That clip, more than any breakdown or commentary, captured the reality of the moment. A celebration had ended in gunfire. A rising artist was fighting for his life and the footage was going viral because that's what footage does now. It spreads, It gets consumed and everybody moves on to the next tragedy. For the people at the center of this story, Z the Wizard in his hospital bed, his family holding vigil, BigXThaPlug processing what he witnessed. The viral moment wasn't content, it was their lives. If you enjoyed watching this video, then go ahead and click on any of the cards on your screen for